Hello and welcome to CloudFolks HUB. My name is Bhavesh Atara. Now, we already started our ECS training. In this video, we are going to understand ECS cluster. We need to understand this because this is first starting point of setting up ECS environment. Here I am inside my AWS console. I am going to search ECS service and going to the ECS console. Now once you go to the ECS console, you are going to get started tab. Once you click over here, the first tab is to set up cluster. Now what is this cluster? I am going to explain you in this particular video. So let's start. First of all, let's start with definition. An ECS cluster represents the group of Docker hosts acting as a unified environment for container orchestration. Let's use the same example that I explained you during the prerequisites video. Here, let's assume that I have only Docker host 1. Inside this Docker host 1, I have multiple container hosted like C1, C2 and C3. Now, if I have only one Docker host, it is a problematic because this can be single point of failure. If any reason, if my Docker host 1 goes down, all the 3 containers will be down as well. Now I want high availability. I have a requirement of 100% uptime. In this case, if my Docker host 1 goes down, I will be in trouble. To provide redundancy, you can set up multiple Docker hosts. For example, I have Docker host 1, Docker host 2 and Docker host 3. In case of failure of Docker host 1, I can run my containers from Docker host 2 or 3. But if you just create Docker hosts separately and if there is no coordination between them, how Docker host 2 and 3 will find out there is a problem with Docker host 1. So if you have multiple Docker hosts, we must have to set up coordination between them. We want that this Docker host can communicate with each other and they work as a single team members. In this case, we must have container orchestration service like ECS. Now once you set up container orchestration service like ECS, the first step is to set up cluster. Now once you set up cluster, inside this cluster, you are going to set up Docker hosts. It can be Docker host 2, 3, but at minimum 2 are required. Once you add Docker hosts, multiple Docker hosts inside the cluster, they will act like a team. Now, all the coordination will be defined by container orchestration service. Now, container orchestration service will schedule all the containers inside this Docker host. So it will find out that, okay, Docker host 1, you are going to run C1 container, Docker host 2, you are going to run C2 container, Docker host 3, you are going to run C3 container. So all this schedules and how container is going to run inside this cluster environment will be defined by container orchestration service. So it is very important as a first step of setting up the ECS to set up cluster and add multiple Docker hosts inside the cluster. Once you add multiple Docker hosts inside the cluster, because all these hosts are member of single cluster, they will act like a team. It provides resource pool where ECS can schedule and run containerized application. Once you will add all these Docker hosts inside the cluster, the resource will be combined together, right? So let's say that if I have 4 vCPU for the Docker host 1, another 4 vCPU for Docker host 2, and then 4 for the Docker host 3, it is going to combine all the resources. We can say that I have cluster with 12 vCPU, right? So it is going to create resource pool once you create or add Docker hosts inside your cluster. Creating cluster is required because ECS need a centralized control point and manage task placement, resource isolation, and service scaling. Now, what is this task placement? What is this service scaling? We are going to discuss about all of this. Right now, you can say that cluster creation is required because once you create cluster, all the Docker hosts can communicate like a team and they can run containers inside this particular cluster. You can run multiple services and tasks.
Sorry to interrupt you. I know you guys are enjoying our video a lot because our final ultimate goal is Solution Architect Certification exam. To reach the destination, we required full videos. Path number 1, our 6-in-1 program. Our 6-in-1 program include all prerequisite skills which is needed as a cloud engineer. It include 24/7 support, lifetime update, section-wise practice test, full course practice test with tips and tricks by Bhavesh Atara, how to do exam preparation course, weekly lifetime live session with Bhavesh Atara, and 6 AWS project with documents. Path number 2, you can enroll by paying 499 and get Hindi and English, both the languages, videos of AWS. The choice is yours how to create your success story by choosing best one. Best of luck. Thank you.